Good evening. I'm Chris Matthews in Washington. A year after Donald Trump's election shocked the world, he remains unpredictable. Tonight, we look at President Trump in his own words. We'll examine the way he's conducted himself in the goldfish bowl of the Oval Office, where he's delivered on the promises he made and how he's handled his many setbacks. The Trump presidency has had, to put it charitably, mixed results, but it has never ceased to keep our attention. Let's take a look back at some key moments of the last year.
I pledge to every citizen of our land that I will be president for all Americans. We're in the process of putting together one of the great cabinets that has ever been assembled in the history of our nation. Do you like it so far, everybody? This American carnage stops right here and stops right now.
Frederick Douglass is an example of somebody who's done an amazing job and is being recognized more and more, I notice.
I want to just pray for Arnold, if we can, for those ratings, okay? We had a very smooth rollout of the travel ban, but we had a bad court. I have nothing to do with Russia. I have to tell you, it's an unbelievably complex subject. Nobody knew that health care could be so complicated. I never said repeal and replace Obamacare. You've all heard my speeches. I never said repeal it and replace it within 64 days. The world is a mess. I inherited a mess. Whether it's the Middle East, whether it's North Korea, whether it's so many other things. If you don't catch a hacker, okay, in the act, it's very hard to say who did the hacking. With that being said, I'll go along with Russia. Could have been China. Could have been a lot of different groups. I mean, had Andrew Jackson been a little bit later, you wouldn't have had the Civil War. Coming from a different world and only being a politician for a short period of time, how am I doing? Am I doing okay? I'm president. Hey, I'm president. Can you believe it, right? Regardless of recommendation, I was going to fire Comey. I said to myself, I said, you know, this Russia thing with Trump and Russia is a made-up story. My son is a wonderful young man. He took a meeting with a Russian lawyer, not a government lawyer, but a Russian lawyer. It was a short meeting. I think from a practical standpoint, most people would have taken that meeting. It's called opposition research, or even research into your opponent. When we finally get a chance to repeal and replace, they don't take advantage of it, so that's disappointing. I am disappointed in the Attorney General. He should not have recused himself almost immediately after he took office. And if he was going to recuse himself, he should have told me prior to taking office, and I would have quite simply picked somebody else. They should have approved health care last night, but you can't have everything. Boy, oh boy. North Korea best not make any more threats to the United States. They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen. I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either. We have to close down our government. We're building that wall. Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired! You know, the saddest thing is that because I'm the President of the United States, I am not supposed to be involved with the Justice Department. I'm not supposed to be involved with the FBI. I'm not supposed to be doing the kind of things that I would love to be doing. All right, but let me tell you, the one that matters is me. I'm the only one that matters, because when it comes to it, that's what the policy is going to be. You've seen that. You've seen it strongly.
Joining me now after all that is Shannon Pettypiece, a White House correspondent for Bloomberg News. Dana Milbank's columnist, of course, for the Washington Post. And Jason Johnson is politics editor at The Root and an MSNBC political contributor. I don't know where we go on that menu. I want to start with it. But what do you think? How's history going to capsulize all that when they try to put together the first year of the Donald Trump American presidency?
Well, when you look at what he said in his statements, you'll look at that as unprecedented. No president has ever spoken like this, made these sort of bold proclamations and statements. But when you look at his actions, what he's actually done and accomplished, I think, you know, this past year, it's pretty modest. Yeah. And historically, it looks pretty modest.
Good modest or bad modest?
I think modest in the sense of he hasn't accomplished that much.
Yeah. Well, he's kept our attention, Dan.
Yes.
I am stunned. I want to start with his historical knowledge. And Jason's shaking his head. I remember Dan Quayle used to make these comments like the Holocaust was the worst thing ever happened in our history, our country's history. What about Frederick Douglass being a guy around the corner? I mean, this guy, one of the great leaders of our country, but way back in Nantucket in the 18th century, we're talking about here, early 19th, and this guy is talking about as one of his neighbors. What do you mean about that guy?
And he's being recognized more and more day by day,
right.
Frederick Douglass. Of all the things you played in there is one that I absolutely agree with Trump on. It was at the very end when he said, "I'm the only one that matters." And that's the thread that's running through all of this. It's not so much he's president of the United States, but it's about Donald Trump and whether he's unhappy with this country or happy with this country, how he is being perceived, how he's being believed, how his Attorney General has been, how the NFL owners are being, all about him in each case. And it has, in a sense, been a magical voyage of discovery.
Does he believe the world exists, or is just part of his experience and his phantasms? Like, all this is just a dream, that all that matters is my id, my ego.
Well,
because when he talks about things like you say, it doesn't seem to matter that there's nuclear weapons in North Korea. It matters how does he size up against the leader as a macho thing.
And has that short, fat guy insulted me?
Yeah, like it's a high school
Donald
thing.
Trump. Look, I mean, we can't put him on the couch. We don't know, but and I'm certainly no expert in the subject, but he's commonly described as a narcissist who can only see things from his perspective. But it is, at the very least, as we were saying, entertaining, because the rest of us are watching him learn about Frederick Douglass, or learning that the president's not supposed to get involved in the Justice Department, or learning that health care reform is so hard.
He does have shtick, too. He does have shtick, Jason. Like, he does know that he does certain techniques, like, you're fired. He knows that's a funny line because of all those years on television firing people. He understands the shtick to this act.
He's a carnival barker, and he's a performer. And honestly, Chris, if we just had different music over the background, it reminded me of that old 80s video, Land of Confusion, by Phil Collins. Like, it just seemed like that strange video with puppets screaming and yelling. Like, every other time you see him, he seems to be ranting about something, and he's never pleased. And it's so interesting. When you looked at George Bush, when you looked at Obama, you looked at Clinton, it seemed like these guys were like, every once in a while, you would get that sense they would wake up and say, "I'm the president."
Yeah, or they smile.
Or they're smiling. He doesn't seem to like the job, and he's in a constant state of rage and doesn't seem to accomplish much. It's bizarre to see for only 8 months in office.
Shannon.
I think to both of your points are very correct. And even people who like him, his friends, people who think he's doing a great job would agree with your point that he is a narcissist at the end of the day. He views the world about himself. And to your point also that he is constantly in a state of combat. That is where he is best, is as fighting. And that's something that his friends and his enemies will tell you the same.
Well, he wants to hold on to his 38% or whatever it is.